Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 22, Valiant. Jake and Nog have an adventure on a ship run by cadets.
Aw, so adorable.
And almost all of them die.
That was weird how they confirm it. They show them on the ground and they're not moving, but then they could just pretend they're knocked out, but then Nog says, no, they're all dead. These are dead bodies everywhere on the ground.
How does he even know?
He enhanced hearing. He doesn't hear any heart rates.
Oh, okay, that actually makes sense, but still, you could apply some first aid or something.
Nope, they're dead. All dead. Let's get out of here.
Let's go and rescue Jake, the only one who had his head screwed on. This episode actually left me kind of annoyed at Jake.
Why is that?
He could have done a better job of sowing the seeds of doubt, I guess.
He was a bit aggressive.
Was he aggressive? I don't think so.
Oh, never mind.
Well, what do you think of his actions?
Well, I was thinking of that one scene when he was berating Nog when they were being eavesdropped on.
He was speaking candidly there, but when he was talking to the captain or the other officers, he kind of didn't say very much.
Maybe he was dumbfounded by how stupid their actions were.
They were so stupid. We're Red Squads. We can do anything. Well, you can't fix your engine.
If you ignore that one thing, we can do everything.
You can't not let all the officers die.
Aw. How did they even survive 8 months if this is how they operate?
Well, I don't know. Weren't they just 2 minutes from a starbase?
I don't know.
At the start, Jake and Nog set off from the starbase. Then there's an attack, and then they get rescued.
Didn't they go into warp for a bit?
Yeah, but all the ships can go to warp. So all I took from it is that they were behind enemy lines, but not very far behind enemy lines.
Okay, fair enough.
They spent 8 months hanging around just on the other side of the line.
That's where the ship was, I guess, that they needed to scan.
Yeah, I'm sure there's general orders about not getting your ship blown up and everyone killed somewhere in there. Or there should be.
That would be a nice amendment if it's not in there.
It's noble of him to want to complete the mission, I guess. But he just wants glory, so he would probably ignore any orders that say, oh, if all your guys die, probably just come home because the ship is way more valuable than a bunch of cadets. So, what did you actually think of this episode?
I thought it was okay. I expected some sort of Lord of the Flies twist, and I'm glad they didn't do that. That's too obvious. But I was expecting some horrible thing happened where they killed the commander and took over the ship or something. I'm glad that didn't happen. And then the intro to this episode is weird. We get this Quark eyeing Dax thing, and then it's never talked about again. It doesn't resolve.
Quark staring right at Dax's rear end.
Yeah.
I don't think that was what they intended. I think that was because of the way it was shot. It looked a bit like he was just getting an eyeful there.
When it cuts to Dax and she's bent over, I thought, really? This is the shot you're going with this for this edit? Okay.
Well, in practical terms, that's where the replicator control panel is.
But before that, she was on the other side and kneeling down, and then to switch positions just for that.
I'm sure no one is really complaining.
No. But what did you think about this episode?
I think it's okay. Kind of the same as what you said. It's reasonably exciting. It doesn't go down the Lord of the Flies style, competing factions and thirst for power too much. They're all kind of united, stupid in the same way. For a Jake and Nog episode, it could have been a lot worse. So there's that, I suppose.
I really enjoyed Dorian talking wistfully about mornings on the moon, or the glories of dawn, as they put it.
It was nicely done, but that dialogue was so purple for a young adolescent, or like a teenager.
Oh, it's so out of place.
19 or something.
I love the moon, and whenever people do stuff with the moon.
Oh, it was good dialogue. Just they should have been about 3 times the age before they can get away with talking like that.
So, like, the moon is, like, totally, like, pretty.
It's so great, you
stuff.
guys.
I do like that they stop calling it the moon in the future.
Yes. Kind of. Did they call the sun the sun?
Have they ever mentioned it?
But it's kind of an open question. It's a nice touch. But they call it Luna. Except the people that live there don't. It reminded me of Space 1999.
I do not know what that is.
Oh, it's a great show. Well, it's very dated, but it's set on the moon.
The moon is woefully underused. Maybe it's not. I think I just like it so much.
No, I'm trying to think of sci-fi stuff with moon cities and that sort of thing. You get it a lot in really old sci-fi, like first half of the 20th century. Lots of short stories and stuff. You get, cities on Mars or Venus, which is always quite a funny one in retrospect. It doesn't seem that popular. I can't think of many shows that have lots of stuff on the moon. But it would be a really logical place to build a cool space city.
Sure, why not? It's right there.
Yeah, we virtually never lose the moon, apart from in Space 1999. The character of Dorian, to bring it back to the show, was tremendously well acted.
Lots of confidence from that actress in that role, which I love to see from younger people. That's not usually the case with younger actors. It's not their fault, lack of experience.
Yes, they have only a limited amount of achieved lifespan. But the other guys, Captain Waters, Karen, and the other guy, which the wiki says his name is Riley.
Okay.
He actually appeared in Homefront, or Paradise Lost, where Red Squad sabotaged the whole world.
Oh, yeah.
Cisco interviewed him.
Oh, I didn't even place that.
Yeah, same guy. Apparently, Red Squad got away with that, so that's strange. Anyway, the other 3 main cadet characters I thought were fine, but they very much seemed like young adult actors.
Dorian is the standout, easily.
Yeah, for sure. She did have the most sort of pretentious dialogue, though.
She
was-
saved it
Well,
mostly.
yeah,
Maybe not.
I don't think it's bad that it's pretentious. Well, it's probably not good, but you can do a lot with dialogue like that.
I don't know why they made Waters addicted to drugs, stimulants.
Because a Starfleet cadet would never make such a poor decision unless he was negatively affected by the ravages of drugs.
He's a young, stupid kid. Of course, he'd make brash decisions.
Okay, maybe it's because there is a stimulant addiction plotline in Babylon 5, and they wanted to work it into this.
It would have been more poignant without it. It's enough to explore the traps of youth, how you think you're invincible and you can do anything. You don't have to toss in drugs into the mix.
It does give him a bit of an out. It kind of lessens the exchange at the end, how Nog flat out thinks he was a bad captain because he got everyone killed. And Dorian thinks he was a great person, and maybe he was both. But then you can kind of say, oh, he was great, just his drug addiction made him not think straight. He clouded his judgment. Which is that cheapens it. He could have just made a bad call.
Because he's young and he doesn't know better. That's fine.
You can't put a 20-year-old up against a massive Jem'Hadar battleship and think, yeah, they'll totally get it to work. They'll do the job.
Because with the drugs, it makes it seem like, oh, if he had proper R&R, it would have all turned out fine.
They shouldn't have put the drug stuff in. I don't think it adds anything particularly, and it kind of affects the other stuff. Not much, but it's a pointless plot thing that never really goes anywhere. Maybe the whole drug addiction that the captain had was an analogy for how he's addicted to promoting people.
That is a serious affliction.
He promoted Nog and just pulled a field promotion pin out of nowhere.
It's his field promotion pocket.
Yeah, he didn't go to a replicator or look in a drawer or anything. He just said, Nog, meet me in the ready room, went in there, and he just pulled it out of his pocket. Yeah, I've just got a whole pocket full of these. Do you want two? You can have two if you want.
In case you lose one or misplace one. Here, you know what? Take 5. His drug addiction helps explain one of his lines for me. And that's when he said, take a look around, and I don't mean look at the walls. That really made me laugh. As if you tell someone to look around, they'll just wildly stare at the walls.
Oh, like Thermians from Galaxy Quest. That was his big captain speech. And I think we've said this before. If you need to say something and then explain it, then it's probably not very... it's probably not worth saying. Look around you, but I don't mean actually look around you. I mean examine your life.
He has some bad lines that I wonder if they were intentional because they're not good leadership lines. The ones I'm thinking of are, I think we can do it. I think we should do it. You shouldn't say, I think, as a captain. He should have just said, we should do it. Or no, not even we should. We will do it.
There's quite a difference between him and Cisco. Like a world of difference.
Yeah, not even just talking about presence or anything like that. Strictly words, there's a huge difference. I'd like to think that's intentional.
When Jake gets called in to the captain's office and the first officer, Karen, starts saying, oh, what have you been talking to Collins? You've been talking about the moon or something. Jake just has this look of disbelief on his face.
That scene made me laugh too. What was the goal there? All right, he promised he won't talk to her. Now she'll never think about the moon again.
He's a civilian. I didn't even know if he was allowed to order Jake to do something. I mean, I guess, because Jake is a guest on the ship, but still. Plus, Jake, all he said was, what was the moon like? I think that was when I started getting frustrated at Jake. Captain Waters starts talking about, oh, don't be part of the story. Just write the story as an impartial observer. Jake should have said, well, I don't tell you how to do your job. Don't tell me how to do mine.
On this ship, your job is what I say it is.
Yeah, I just wanted him to speak up and say something. And then later on, when they're chanting, yeah, we can do it, we can blow up a big battleship, he should have raised the objection. I'm a Federation citizen, I'm not a combatant. You're risking my life. That's way worse than risking their own lives. The Federation never takes civilians into battle. That's insane.
And it was unprovoked. It wasn't something that was unavoidable. It was totally avoidable.
Yes, they would probably get in trouble for taking a civilian on an absolutely unnecessary and dangerous mission.
If they weren't all dead, they'd all be on timeout.
I remember the episode Nor the Battle to the Strong, where Bashir is really conflicted over whether he should take Jake to the war zone
Right.
to offer humanitarian aid. And he says he probably shouldn't, but he's going to anyway because the nature of the mission should be acceptable.
Whereas this was a suicide mission.
Yes, that's Bashir, and he's an officer, and he was hesitant. And that was simply just providing medical care for people near a war zone. But these guys should know straight away, oh, you don't take civilians into a bloody crazy mission.
There's another amendment for the Red Squad charter.
It's not even that. I'm just annoyed Jake didn't point that out. It was his life that they were messing with. And he already disagreed that it was a good idea. He said, well, I know my dad, and he would think this is the worst idea in history.
Yeah.
But they just start chanting, and he sort of folds his arms and pouts and says, okay, into the lion's den we go.
That scene when he brings up his dad actually works against him in this episode. And what I mean is that his head is in the right place. He knows this is stupid. And as you've been saying, he should have spoken up. He obviously knew what was going on and what the risks were.
Yeah, as soon as you say, my dad would have said this, you kind of just... It feels like... what's it called? It feels like an appeal to authority fallacy. But it's not. Because an appeal to authority fallacy is where the person isn't an authority. But his dad really is an authority. But just appealing to, oh, I know these guys and they wouldn't do it, just sounds like you're name checking.
When Jake tells Nog, I'll have them put that on your tombstone, I thought, oh, does that mean he's planning an escape? How is he... Because he's on this ship too. He's going to die if they die.
It was a good line, though.
Yeah, I like the line a lot, but then it didn't fit the circumstance.
If we all die here, I'm going to tell them to write that on your tombstone. Jake was bumbling around on the bridge during a red alert.
As you do. It's a Red Squad red alert. That's not a real red alert.
The first officer even says, well, nobody invited you. Yeah, well, if it's a red alert, surely there's some sort of procedure. You don't just let civilians run around on the bridge. Tell them to leave immediately and go back to their quarters.
Tell them to leave passively.
Just get really aggro at them. You still here? Jeez.
Leave them a strongly worded post-it note.
At the same time, they pulled 2 phasers on Jake, who's a cooperating unarmed civilian. Was that really necessary? These guys are not very well trained. In fact, if these guys are Red Squad and this is the sort of stuff they're doing, I'd like to see the cadets that aren't very good.
Oh yeah, these are supposedly the best.
Yeah, that's why I'm complaining about little things like having civilians on the bridge during a crisis situation. Is there a squad of cadets who are the, I don't know, the ones that only just get the passing scores in exams? They're just scraping through. I'd like to see them tackle these problems, except they'd probably just go home and be heroes. Well, we saw a massive big battleship out there, but don't worry, we didn't go anywhere near it because we're not very good.
Those Red Squad guys, though, they would have handled it. That's not us.
No, we just brought back the Valiant, which is probably unbelievably useful in a time of war where weapons ships are almost completely rare. It's just that one and the Defiant.
And 0 casualties, which means we didn't do anything exciting.
I have a question for you.
I have an answer.
It's a question about quotes.
I think I know the question.
I think we've had this very conversation before, so just get on with the quotes. That sounded really aggressive. Please, could you share a lovely quote with us?
He may have been a hero, he may have been a great man, but in the end, he was a bad captain.
It's absolutely true. I can't fault Nog's logic. He was a bad captain, he got everyone killed.
Kind of hard to argue he was a good captain. Well, actually, here, I'll do it right now. One action does not define you, or one choice does not define you.
It can do if you get everyone killed.
But that's one choice.
Yes, but not all choices are equal.
What if you eliminate that one choice and then your track record suddenly becomes 100% awesome captain choices?
Yes, but all of those other choices weren't as important as the choice that he made that got everyone killed, because that choice got everyone killed.
But he was compromised by drugs.
Oh god, okay. Okay, I admit it's a hard price to pay. He got everyone killed, and now everyone says he's a bad captain, apart from the one survivor who kind of defends him. And maybe it's not even fair, but that's the way the chips fall sometimes. I'm sure there are captains that don't get everyone killed, and people say, well, that wasn't particularly good, you're a bad captain. And there are probably captains that get everyone killed, and they say, well, they did make the right choices, they're a good captain. But in this one, he really did make the choice that got everyone killed. That was on his shoulders.
Yes, it is. Also, there's that quote, you're only as good as your last performance, or something like that. So if he's only as good as his last choice, he is a terrible captain.
Well, they didn't go that far. They just said bad, not atrocious.
No,
It's the worst captain in history.
Yeah. He is the Michael Jordan of being the worst captains.
He is to captainage as O'Brien is to good days. Does that make sense?
He doesn't have it?
Yeah, it doesn't. He has the opposite of... Yeah, whatever. I have a little quote.
Go for it.
It's not from this episode.
Oh.
It's from episode 4 of this season, Behind the Lines, where Nog and O'Brien have a little chit-chat. O'Brien says to Nog,
It's an old naval tradition. Whoever's in command of a ship, regardless of rank, is referred to as captain.
You mean if I had to take command, I would be called captain too?
Cadet, by the time you took command, there'd be nobody left to call you anything.
Good point.
Oh man, it happened.
it kind of did happen. By the time Nog was the highest ranking guy left, everyone was dead apart from 2 people.
I didn't even think of that.
It was something I desperately would have wanted to talk about during that podcast, but here we go. It came true. It's not the first time they've done little snippets like that and then eventually had the situation happen.
It works so well because it comes off as an innocent remark that isn't supposed to foreshadow anything. It's the kind of joke O'Brien would make. It's bleak and it's funny, so it's fine. But then it happens and you think, oh gosh.
Poor Nog. Just one conversation with O'Brien and this happens.
So this is O'Brien's fault?
Well, yep, they had a bad day, foreshadowed by O'Brien.
O'Brien is the bad day whisperer.
Who knows? Maybe we'll find out in the next episode.
Okay.
Perhaps O'Brien will suffer horribly. Or perhaps not.
My money is on yes.
Well, we'll have to see. Bye.
Bye.